Good morning. Today we are going to discuss another important topic comes under business law, calls law of contract or contracts. Givisum Nithir. This is going to be, this is actually lengthy area. And this is going to be the introductory session to law of contracts. First of all, let's see what are the learning outcomes of this session. At the end of this session, you will be able to learn how to define contract, importance of law of contract, what are the essential elements of a valid contract, definition of an offer, legal rules of an offer, finally, how to terminate an offer. Right. First, we will see how we can define a contract. Why we have to have contracts? If I say the law of contract is the foundation upon which modern business is built, I don't know whether you would agree with me. Contracts are probably a necessary device in any kind of market economy. Rights of the business community are protected by the principles of the law of contract. As people live in this society, all of us enter into a number of contracts every day. So according to these statements, we have to understand law of contract is equally important for the business community as well as all of us as citizens in this society. I will give you some examples. Let's assume there's a person called A. He invested in his business. He's just started a business, buying and selling business. He invested 100,000 in his business, rupees 100,000. Invest kara. Then he sold goods to three persons called B, C, and D on credit basis. The value of the first transaction he made with B is 20,000 rupees. The second transaction he made with C, it's 30,000 rupees. Third transaction he made with D, the value is, let's say 20,000. Altogether, the value of all the transactions is 70,000. 20, 20, 30, 70,000. All those transactions were made on credit basis. If these persons did not pay money to A, what would happen to A's business? We have a definite answer for that. His business will collapse. Today we know people invest millions, billions, maybe dollars, maybe rupees in business. And they do many transactions on credit basis. There is no fear for them. Why? The reason is their rights are being protected by the principles of law of contract. If those three persons in our example refuse to pay money, A can take legal action against them by filing cases at the courts. He can ask not only the contractual price, a compensation as well as legal charges. Because that protection is there. That's why people invest money, and that is one of the main reasons for development take place in business world today due to the protection given by the principles of law of contract. That is one aspect that is about the business world. On the other hand, every day, every one of us make many contracts, but we don't realize that it's another contract. We just think it's a transaction. Because we don't look at that from the perception or the perspective of law. We just think it's another transaction. If something's happened, something's went wrong, then only we realize that we made a valuable or the valid contract with the other party. Otherwise, we don't realize. Now, let's see how we can define a contract. There are many definitions given by legal experts like Pollock, Salmon, Halsbury. We will read them. The first one, every agreement and promise enforceable at law is a contract, given by Pollock. And contract is an agreement creating and defining obligations between the parties, given by legal expert called Salmon. A contract is an agreement between two or more persons which is intended to be enforceable at law and is constituted by the acceptance by one party of an offer made to him by the other party to do or abstains from doing some act, given by famous jurist called Salisbury. So according to all these definitions, we can develop our own definition, a very simple one to define a contract. Here it is. Contract is an agreement between two or more persons which can be enforced in the court of law. අධිකරණයක් ඉදිරියේ බලාත්මක කරන්න පුළුවන් පාර්ශවයන් දෙකක් හෝ ඊට වැඩි පිරිසක් අතර ඇතිවන්නා වූ එකගත්වයක් වනාහි ගිවිසුමක් කියලා අපිට නිර්වචනය කරන්න පුළුවන්. Then, what do you mean by this? If you can understand the words agreement, we know about the persons, right? Enforced in a court of law, I'm sure that we can understand the meaning of a contract in a very clear manner, right? Let's see, if we take a contract, according to this definition, contract has two main elements. One is agreement, the other one is legal intention. Let's see what are the meanings of these two terms. First, an agreement. Let's assume that A wants to sell his car to B for 5 million rupees. Then A asks from B whether he is interested to buy A's car for 5 million rupees. If B says yes, I will buy, we can call it an agreement. A makes an offer to B, B said yes, I will buy, we call it acceptance, and offer plus acceptance is called agreement. එකගත්වය. එය දෙන්න අතර එකගත්වයක් තියෙනවා වාහනයක් ගන්නයි විකුණන්නයි. එතකොට දැන් B ට මේ වාහනේ ගන්නම ඕන. ගන්නම ඕන B කැමති නැහැ වාහනේ වෙන කාටවත් විකුණනවට. B මොකද කරන්නේ? B will provide advance to A and got a letter from A that he received 1 lakh advance, 1 lakh rupees advance, and he's going to sell it to B in near future, or they can fix a date as well. Then he keeps it. If A sells that vehicle to somebody else other than B, B can take legal action because at the time of making that agreement, he had in his mind legal intention. මෙයා බැරි වෙලාවත් මට මේ වාහනේ වික්කේ නැත්තම් මම මෙයාට ඇඩ්වාන්ස් එකකුත් දීලා තියෙනවා. මම මෙයාට විරුද්ධව නඩුවක් දානවාමයි කියන එක තමයි legal intention කියලා කියන්නේ නීතිමය චේතනාව. At the time of making the agreement, both parties intended to bind legally. That means if one party breaks the promise, I'm going to take legal action. That's the idea of legal intention. If you want to make a contract, just agreement is not enough. At the time of making the agreement, both parties must intend to bind legally, or we call it legal intention. But there are certain agreements, at the time of making the agreement, they have no idea to go to the courts and take legal action. I'll give you one example. Let's assume there are two persons. One person is son, the other person is father. Father promises his son, son, if you look here, if you get 3 A's at A-levels, I will buy your vehicle. I will buy your nice brand new car. Son accepted father's proposal and finally studied hard and got 3 A's at A-levels. Now son wants to get his vehicle from father. He asked for the vehicle. Then father said, look here, right? Still you are a student. How can you afford and maintain a vehicle? Once you finish your education at the university, once you become a graduate, right? Once you become a graduate, definitely I will buy your vehicle. He postponed it. Can son take legal action against father? Or if son does not get 3 A's, can father take legal action against son? No. Why? At the time of making that promises, they never intended to take legal action against each other. තාත්තා හිතුවේ නෑ පුතාට විරුද්ධව නඩු දානවා කියලාවත් පුතා හිතුවේ නෑ තාත්තට විරුද්ධව නඩු දානවා කියලාවත් ඒ හින්දා ඒක legal intention එකක් නෑ හින්දා ඒක contract එකක් නෙමෙයි ළමයි ඒක ඇවිල්ලා just an agreement you cannot enforce it at the court of law අධිකරණයේ ගිහලා බලාත්මක කරන්න පුළුවන් එකක් නෙමෙයි ඒ මම කියපු දෙවෙනි example එක එහෙමනම් මම මෙහෙම එකක් කිව්වොත් if I say all the contracts are agreements but all the agreements are not contract. Do you agree? Yes, definitely. Because there are agreements you make without legal intention, like fathers and sons case. Those are not contracts. Those are just agreements. But if you want to make a valid contract, definitely just agreement is not enough. Legal intention must be there to make a valid contract. Definitely, if you want to go to the courts to care, defend your case or whatever, right, as a result of breaching the contract, definitely it must be a contract. Regarding agreements, you can't go to the courts and get a remedy. Now let's see, we have already learned offer and acceptance. We call it an agreement. Other than that, intention to create legal relations, nityan banine chetanawa. To make a valid contract, that is not sufficient. You have to fulfill, there are some other requirements as well to make a valid contract, namely contractual capacity, consideration, free consent of the parties, legal objective, and the legal formality. These are the essential elements of a valid contract. Now, you know the meaning of offer and acceptance. For example, if A says, I want to sell my car for 5 million rupees to you. So we call it an offer. If B says, yes, definitely I will buy your vehicle, we call it an acceptance. And when offer plus acceptance is there, the common word is agreement. Then intention to create legal relations. That means when you are making the contract, at the time of making the contract, in your mind, what intention is there? I will take legal action against the other party if he breaks his promise. So both parties must have the same intention, and we call it legal intention. Next one is contractual capacity. Yusum kirimi hakiyawa. We accept that everybody in this world can make contracts, but there are certain restrictions where people cannot make contracts. Who are the examples? We can take as minors. Minors means Balavaskaruan, those who have not fulfilled the age up to 18. Those who are less than 18 is called minors in our society. They don't have full capacity to make contracts. To a certain extent, they also can make valid contracts. Especially, they can make contracts like to purchase essential commodities to a minor. And also to purchase or to enter into an agreement to develop himself, his job or his profession. Likewise, maybe apprenticeship contracts, trainee contracts, he can enter into, and he's valid. Those are valid contracts, and the minor is bound on those contracts. ඊට අමතරව ළමයි තවත් තියෙනවා මේ සමාජයේ ගිවිසුම් හදන්නට බැරි අය. උදාහරණයක් ගත්තොත් එහෙම අපි ගත්තොත් if we take insane persons, උමතුභාවයටපත් වෙච්ච පුද්ගලයන්ට ගිවිසුම් හදන්න බෑ. හැදුවත් ඒක මුල හිටම අවලංගු ගිවිසුමක් වෙනවා. Because he can't understand what is going on, right? Under the normal circumstances, right? So therefore, the insane persons cannot make valid contracts, even though if they make a contract, it is cancelled or it's void from the very first beginning. Another group of people whose contractual capacity is limited calls drunkards. Those who have taken too much of liquor or the narcotic drugs. Because of that, he cannot understand what is going on, can't understand anything. Right? We call them drunkards. If drunkard entered into a contract with another normal party, if the normal party knows about that, the drunkard's weakness, and during his drunkenness period, he was asked to enter into a contract. As a result of that, third party, the other party got a big privilege while advantage, while the drunkard had to suffer from a lot. For example, අපි තුමුකෝ drunkard කෙනෙක් වශයෙන් දැන් බොන්න පත් වෙච්ච පුද්ගලයාට තියෙනවා කියලා ලොකු ඉඩමක් පාරක් අයිනේ. ඒ හරිය පර්ච් එකක් ලක්ෂ 10යි. නමුත් එයාට කියනවා තව කෙනෙක් එයාව දන්න කෙනෙක් එයාට හොඳට බොන්න දීලා එයාට කියලා ඉඩම ලියව ගන්නවා. එයාට දෙන්නේ පර්ච් එකට ලක්ෂ 10ක් නෙමෙයි රුපියල් 50,000 ගානේ. අන්න ඒකේ මොකද වෙන්නේ? අන්තිමට as a result of that drunkard had to face big loss, while the other party, normal person, he was able to get a benefit through this contract. So therefore, it's very important, if somebody wants to cancel a contract entered with another party as a drunkard has a chance. What he can do is he can file a case and he has to prove that at the time of making the contract, he was under the influence of the liquor or the narcotic drugs. Other party knew about it. And as a result of entering into the contract, he had to suffer a big loss while the other party got a big advantage. If he can prove those things, he can cancel the effect of that contract made with non-drunkard person. Then the next one is consideration. Consideration means if you want to implement a contract, to enforce a contract, both parties to the contract must give something with value to each other is called consideration. It doesn't bother whether you get the same, right? Same value, the same price. For example, consideration means whenever you enter into transaction, you must get something in return, and both parties must exchange something with value. We call it consideration, right? If there is a contract where you pay only, let's say, 1,000 rupees, and no, let's say you give something to the other party, you get something in return, that is also enough. No need to give every time in money, in terms of money. If you all can exchange something with value, that is also counted as a contract here. Then the next one is free consent of the parties. Whenever you make a contract, you have to get the free consent from the independent consent from the other parties. If you obtain it by putting and pressuring someone else, it is not a valid contract. Right? For example, if let's say there is a patient and a doctor. Patient he's a heart patient and he is a owner of a big land located near to the main road of the town. Then doctor, he's searching for land to put up a dispensary or a hospital. When he came to know that he found that there's a nice land, recently he came to know that who is the owner of that land, none other than that patient who is suffering from heart disease. Then one day when doctor met him, he told the patient, yeah, your health condition is very bad. Right? Your health condition is very bad. You have to undergo a surgery. I will take the responsibility. I will look after you. But I heard that you have a land somewhere. I want to buy it. Right. එතකොට කියනවා right. ඔයාට මම land එක මට දෙන්න. Then I will give you this much. Small amount of money. Actual value of the land is 1 million. Now this that patient මෙයා කියනවා දැන් ඔයාගේ ජීවිතේ මගේ ડોක්ටර් කියන්නේ මගේ අතේ ඔයාගේ ජීවිතේ තියෙන්නේ. If you want me to protect your life, you have to pass that ownership of the land to me. I want to put up a hospital. අර මනුස්සයා හොඳට බය වෙනවා. බය වෙලා ඉඩම දෙනවා. බොහොම අඩු ගානකට. අන්න ඒ වගේ අපි කියනවා there is no free consent of the parties. The consent was obtained how by force, by making the other party scared. බය වෙලා ඉන්න මනුස්සයා එයා ලියලා දුන්නා. ඉතින් අර ඒ වගේ ඒවා ඇත්තටම කැන්සල් කරගන්න පුළුවන්. ඔය ටික ඔප්පු කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් අධිකරණයේ නඩුවක් පවරලා. ඊළඟට කියනවා legal object of the contract. The objective of the contract must be lawful. For example, A says to B, I will give 1 million rupees. You have to sabotage the marriage between C and D. C ගේ සහ D ගේ අතර තියෙන විවාහය කඩාකප්පල් කරන මම ඔයාට ලක්ෂයක් දෙනවා කියලා කියනවා. කවුද A කියනවා B ට. Right. Legal objective means, yes, what you have to do, you have to sabotage the marriage between C and D. I will give you 1 million. Then somehow by putting many tactics, B was able to sabotage the marriage between C and D. Now he's claiming he wants to get 1 million from A. He asked for that, but A refused to give him 1 million. Now he can't go to the courts because court might ask, how did you, why you are getting this money? Why, what you have done? Then what he can say, I sabotage a family or marriage. It's not a valuable or the legal objective for that to get that much of money. It is totally illegal. Breaking somebody's marriage is not a legal practice, legal objective. It is totally illegal objective. And also the last one, legal formality. Normally we can make contracts orally, in writing, over the phone we can make contracts. But there are certain situations where if you want to make the contract a valid one, definitely you have to follow the formalities. For example, if you gave money to someone as a loan, right? Loan, you have to have a document to prove it. You have to get a promissory note from the debtor, saying that I obtained this much of money and I have given a promise to release money by mid of next month. Likewise, you have to get a promissory note from the debtor and you have to keep it as a creditor. When the time comes, if he does not make payments, you can produce that letter to the courts, right? That is very important aspect. But in normal contracts, you don't have to follow a formality, and you can make it either orally or in writing, you can make a contract. Right, okay. Let's move on to the next slide. Yeah, from here onwards, we will study different elements required to make a valid contract. We will start with offer. යෝජනාව නැත්නම් ඒක තමයි starting point එක ළමයි ඕනම ගිවිසුමක there must be an offer. Right. We will first define what is an offer. An offer is a statement by one party of willingness to enter into a contract on stated terms, provided that these terms are in turn accepted by the party or parties to whom the offer is addressed. The person making the offer is called the offerer. The person to whom the offer is made called the offeree. Offerer, this is the relationship between offerer and offeree. Yeah. One party informs the other party his willingness to do something with an intention to get the other party's willingness on that. We call it an offer. Yes. There are some examples here. I am willing to sell my bicycle to you for 10,000 rupees. It's an offer. If the other party says, yes, I will, then we call it acceptance. And finally, that will be ended up as a valid contract. Will you buy my car for 14,000? That is also an offer. Do you intend to sell your car? That is not an offer. It is not definite thing. It is just asking somebody's intention to do something. So the last one is not an offer. The first two are examples for offer. To make a valid offer, there are some essential elements to be fulfilled. Yeah, we will discuss from here onwards what are those elements to make a valid contract offer. An offer may be implied or express. An offer may be specific or general. The terms of the offer must be certain. An invitation to treat is not an offer. An offer must be communicated to the offeree. So those are the main elements to make a valid offer. We will take one by one. Offer may be implied or express. Offer may be implied or express. What do you mean? You can make an offer how express. Express means prakashana. Prakashana karana kenan. Prakasha kirima tuli. Implied kyanne by behavior, by conduct. Hasirimi. එතකොට you can make an offer how by express. Express කිව්වහම ප්‍රකාශිත කිව්වහම ආකාර දෙකක් තියෙනවා. එකක් තමයි in writing, the other one is by orally. If you want to sell something to another party, you can send a message, you can send a letter that is in writing. Or orally also you can do it by giving a phone call face to face, right? Likewise, you can inform another party that I am willing to sell my bicycle to you by using different ways. How offers can be made by implication, implied. නැත්නම් වියන්ගෙන් කොහොමද ළමයි offers හදාන්නේ. දැන් මෙන්න මෙතන උගලන්ට පේනවා ඇති අර මිනිස්සෙක් වාහනයකට නගින බස් එකට නගින ෆොටෝ එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි ගත්තොත් එහෙම එතෙන්දී දැන් අපි හිතමුකෝ උගලන්ට කොහෙට හරි යන්න ඕන කියලා. එතකොට බස් වලට එකේ ඉන්නවා. relevant බස් එක ආවම මොකද ඕගොල්ලන් කරන්නේ? ඕගොල්ලෝ අත දානවා. එතකොට බස් එකේ driver දන්නවා මෙයාට යන්න ඕන වෙලා තියෙනවා අපේ බස් එකේ. ඒක තමයි මේම අත දාලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා. එතකොට බස් එක නවත්තලා ඔයාව බස් එකට දාගන්නවා. අන්න ඔයා offer එකක් ගේන විදිහ. හරි? බස් එක නවත්තලා බස් එකට නගිනවා. You are making an offer. You are asking from the bus company to take you to a particular destination, right? එතකොට ඒක සම්පූර්ණ totally you make it without writing, without speaking, but by implication you are making the offer. A second requirement, offer may be specific or general. Specific, again, when it comes to specific offers, there are two types. One is individual, the other one is group. You can make an offer to an individual. For example, I want to sell this cup, right? I want to sell this cup to a person called Roshani. Then I asked from Roshani, I would like to sell my cup to you for 1,000 rupees. It's an offer. It is made to an individual called Roshani. But sometimes you can make an offer to a group of persons. I asked from the BCom first year students whether they are interested to buy my cup for 1,000 rupees. Right? It's an offer made to a particular group of students. Then anyone in this group is interested to purchase this, he or she can purchase it, right? So you can make an offer to an individual and also to a group, right? Only the group, the persons in that group can accept that offer, right? Only the BCom first year students can accept it. Even BCom final year students are interested on this, they can't accept because this offer is made to a particular person, particular group of persons. Right. The other one is general offer. Make it up, පොදු අර්පණය කියලා. I can show you some examples for පොදු අර්පණය. What has happened? Lost cat, lost dog. Yes, I'm sure that you might have seen this type of advertisements published in social media, maybe in your own area, right? This cat is missing. If somebody finds my cat, I will ready to pay that person reward $200 US. Not a small amount, right? $200 US. If someone is interested, yeah, they can search for the missing cat and they can, if they find out the missing cat, they can hand over the cat to the owner and get money. So that is an offer made to the world at large, right? Let's say that the cat is missing, the cat was lost in, let's say, nearby the parliament in Porte, right? Then anybody interested who saw this advertisement, even from country like United Kingdom, United States, even from India. If somebody is interested, he may come to Sri Lanka and search for the cat, finding out the cat and return and get money and they can go. It's there. So we call this type of examples general offers. You make it to the world at large. Anybody is interested, wherever they live, they can respond to this general offer. We call it general offer. How to accept it? By finding out the missing dog, missing cat, and return that to the real owner. Then the contract completes. I'll give you one example. Good case. You can read this case. Carlyle versus Carbolic Smoke Ball Company. This was decided a long time back in Britain. Let's read this case. Carbolic Smoke Ball Company placed an advertisement in a newspaper for their products, stating that any person who purchase and use their product but still contracted influenza would be entitled to £100 reward. මොකද කිව්වේ? මේ ස්මෝක් බෝල් මැනුෆැක්චරින් කියන ඖෂධ නිෂ්පාදන ආයතනය පුවත්පතක දැන්වීමක් පළ කරා. අපි හදලා තියෙන අලුත් ඖෂධයක්. ඒක පාවිච්චි කරලා යම් කෙනෙක් සති දෙකක් පුරාවට ඉන්ෆ්ලුවෙන්සා කියන රෝගය හැදුනොත් එහෙම අපි එයාට පවුන්ඩ් 100ක තෑග්ගක් දෙනවා කියලා කිව්වා. මේක දැක්කා මිසිස් කාලයිල්. She purchased those smoke balls and use as directed by the manufacturing company. ඒ කියන්නේ සති දෙකක් පුරාවට දවසට දෙවතාවක බැගින් ස්මෝක් බෝල් පාවිච්චි කරා. අවසානයේදී ඇයට ඉන්ෆ්ලුවෙන්සාව හැදුනා. ඊට පස්සේ මෙයා ගොඩක් සෆර් කරලා finally she wanted to claim the reward £100. But it was rejected by the manufacturer, saying that there is no contract. We did not make any offer to you, especially to this Mrs. Carlyle. Finally, court stated, no, that it's correct that you have not made that offer to any one special person, but you made an offer which is called general offer. You made it to the entire world, right? It's a general offer. So therefore, anyone can accept the general offer by doing what is in that contract to be fulfilled. She has done like that. Now she's entitled to obtain the reward. That was a decision given by the in Carlyle versus Carbolic Smoke Ball Company. Another requirement to make a valid offer is the terms of the offer must be certain and not loose or vague. Right? You can't put forward in an offer conditions like, if I won the Saturday fortune lottery, definitely on Sunday I will buy your vehicle. It is not an offer. Why? Because he's going to buy the vehicle based on a condition. If he wins the lottery, he's going to buy it. Right? That is not a valid offer because there is a condition. You cannot put forward conditions in offers. Another one, invitation to treat is not an offer. So what do you mean by invitation to treat? Sangha kirimata aradhana kirim. Now, for example, I'm sure that you might have seen, there are advertisements to sell various items in the social media, in the newspapers, as posters, right? We have seen that people, they want to sell things to other people. And For that purpose, they put advertisements in various media. Putting an advertisement in the media is not making an offer according to law of contract. It's not making an offer. It is just an invitation to trade, just to circulate information about the selling items. Selling item. වාහනයක් විකුණනවා නම් කවද්ද හැදුවේ? කීවෙනි ඕනද? මයිලේජ් එක කොච්චරද? ඔය ඔක්කොම දේවල් ඇඩ් එකේ දාලා තියන්න ඕනේ. ඒ හරහා ගැනුම් කාර්යයට අවස්ථාවක් දෙන්න පුළුවන්. එයා ඉන්ට්‍රෙස්ටඩ්ද මේක ගන්න නැද්ද කියලා තීරණය කරන්න based on the information provided by the invitation to trade. Then as the customers, after getting all the information, customers make the offer. Customer තමයි ඊට පස්සේ offer එක ගේන්නේ. අපි පත්තරේ ඇඩ් එකක් තිබ්බ කියලා පුටු වගේක් විකුණන්න. ඒ ඇඩ් එක දැක්කහම මේ ඇඩ් එක දානවා කියන්නේ ඔෆර් එකක් ගේනව නෙමෙයි ළමයි. ඒ ඇඩ් එකට රියැක්ට් කරොත් මම ගන්න ගිහලා මම යෝජනාවක් ගේනවා මට මේක මේ ගානට දෙන්න කියලා. අන්න ඒකට අපි කියනවා වැලිඩ් ඔෆර් එකක් කියලා. හරි එතකොට ඒක විතරක් නෙමෙයි පත්තරවල ඇඩ්ස් දාන එක, ඔක්ෂන් සේල්ස් පවත්වන බව කියන එක. ඊළඟට වුඩ්ස් සුපර් මාකට්ස් වල ෂෙල්ෆ්ස් වල උඩ තියලා තියෙනවා වින්ඩෝස් මොනවාද තියෙන්නේ වින්ඩෝස් කියලා ඒ ඇතුලේ තියලා තියෙන විකුණන්නේ ඒ ඔක්කොම ගත්තොත් ළමයි ඒ ඔක්කොම ඉන්විටේෂන් ටු ට්‍රීට් එකක්වත් ඔෆර්ස් නෙමෙයි ඔෆර්ස් ගේන්නේ අපි as the customers we are the people who make offers. හොඳ කේස් එකක් තියෙනවා මේක කියවලා බලන්න partridge versus pretender. Defendant placed an advertisement in a newspaper and advertising bramble finches birds for sale at 25 shillings each. Right? Owner of some birds. He wanted to sell some birds and he put an advertisement in the newspaper saying that bramble finches kyane kurulu jatiya. Bramble finches birds we are ready to sell for one bird's price is just 25 shillings. But under the Protection of Birds Act of Britain, එංගලන්තයේ ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙච්ච කුරුල්ලන් ආරක්ෂා කිරීමේ පන 1954ට අනුව they have named various type of live birds to make offers to sell, including bramble finches. Offers ගෙන තහනම් කුරුල්ලෝ විකුණන්න. When the police saw this advertisement, they took legal action against this seller. But their attempt became unsuccessful. Why? Because according to the Act, it was prohibited to make offers to sell different type of birds. But here putting an advertisement in the newspaper is not making an offer. It is just like inviting customers to make their own offers. So therefore, there is no valid contract between the the court stated it is not an offer. The court stated it is not an offer. Offense and it is just inviting a party to make offers. For an example, if you are going to make an offer, if you make an offer, then you are guilty, right? You are guilty. The prohibition is for making offers, not invitation for treat. We can take some other examples as well here. Fisher versus Bell. Same story. Harris versus Nicholson, same. Yeah. This is also important aspect. Offer must be communicated to the offeree. If there is an offer, that must be communicated to the offeree. Otherwise, you cannot make a valid contract. Look at this case, R versus Clark. A, without knowing that reward has been offered for the arrest of a particular criminal, catches the criminal and gives the information to the police. A cannot recover the reward as he cannot be said to have accepted the offer when he was not at all aware of it. එක්තරා අපරාධකාරයෙක් පිළිබඳව තොරතුරු දෙන කෙනෙක්ට තියාගයක් පිරිනමනවා කියලා පොලිසිය ඇඩ් එකක් දාලා තිබ්බා. මේ ගැන නොදත් පුද්ගලයෙක් ගිහිලා මේ හොරාව අල්ලලා දුන්නා පොලිසියට බාර දුන්නා විස්තරත් සැපයුවා. නමුත් එයා ගෙදර ගියා. පස්සේ තමයි දැනගත්තේ මෙහෙම ඔෆර් එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා. ජෙනරල් ඔෆර් එකක් මෙච්චරක් සල්ලි දෙනවා කියලා. එයා ගිහිල්ලා නැවත වතාවක් පොලිසියට ගිහිල්ලා අහුවා කොහමගේ තෑග්ග කියලා. නමුත් පොලිසිය තෑග්ග දුන්නේ නැහැ. අන්තිමට මේ පුද්ගලයා අධිකරණයට ගියා. අධිකරණයට ගියාම ඔප්පුණා මෙයා මේ හොරාව බාර දෙන අවස්ථාව වෙන විට මේ දාපු ඇඩෙක් ගැන දැනන් හිටියේ නෑ කියලා. එහෙමනම් එයාට ඒක sannivedana වෙලා නෑ. එහෙමනම් එතන වළංගු විසුමක් ඇති වෙලා නැහැ. Right, okay, let's see how offer will terminate or termination of the offer. When the offer is being made, it is not forever. That must be terminated. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ අර්පණයක් අවසානයට පත් වෙන්නට ඕන. There are four ways that offer comes to an end. One method is by lapse of time. Second method is by revocation of the offer by the offerer, by rejection or offering a counter offer of the offer by the offeree. And the last method is by death or insanity of parties. So we'll take one by one. First one is by lapse of time. Lapse of time කියන්නේ ළමයි කාලය ඉක්ුත් වීම මත offer එකක් අවසානයට පත් වෙනවා. දැන් offer එකක් ගෙනාවට පස්සේ you can't open it forever. At particular point that must be terminated, right? If no period is fixed, it will terminate after a reasonable period if the offer covers items that have rapidly changing prices such as shares, bonds, etc. Reasonable time may be measured in minutes. If there is in the offer itself, they have not mentioned at what time the offer will be terminated, the court will decide the time of termination of the offer based on the nature of the subject matter of that transaction of offer, right? For example, if you take some goods like, let's say there is an offer made to sell fresh fish. So we can give to accept that offer only hours, right? Otherwise, fish is going to be perish because that is in perishable nature. If you take as another example, stock of fruits, right? Stock of fruits, that is also terminated the offer within short period of time, right? Because that is also in perishable nature. But if you take as an example house, you can give more time, maybe 1 month or 2 months to decide the transaction. If you take another example, car, maybe you can give 2 weeks, 3 weeks to decide it. If somebody is selling shares, to end up that offer, you can give even 1 week, maximum 1 month. We know that the prices of the shares at the stock market is fluctuating every time. So therefore, you can't give months and months to decide such transaction. There is an example here. I want you all to read it. Ramsgate, Victoria versus Montefiore. In June, D offered to take shares in Peace Hotel. P did not reply to this offer, but in November, P allotted shares to D. But D refused to take them. It was held that such refusal was justified since D's offer was for reasonable time only, and 5 months was much more than that the offer had lapsed, and he was not bound to accept the shares. A person wanted to buy some shares from a hotel, Peace Hotel. Then he sent an offer in the month of June. But D did not get any reply until the month of November. In the month of November, hotel accepted D's offer and allocated some shares. But D refused to take them. Then finally, this hotel took legal action against this person, saying that he breached the contract. He made an offer in June. We accepted it in November. But court stated the subject matter of this transaction is none other than shares. So if somebody wants to buy shares in the month of June, and if the hotel allocates shares in the month of November, that means after 5 months only they accepted this offer. So it's a too long period to accept somebody's offer to purchase shares, because we know according to the nature of shares in the market, it's fluctuating. So therefore, D, he had given up his idea to purchase shares from that particular hotel due to that long period of time they took to accept the offer. That was justified by the courts by considering the nature of the subject matter. Second one is revocation of the offer. An offer comes to an end by communication of notice of revocation by the offerer. The rules relating to revocation of offer may be summed up as under. So if somebody wants, the offerer, the person who makes the offer, decided to revoke or withdraw, ඉල්ලාස් කරගන්න අදහස් කරනවා නම් තමන් ගෙනාපු offer එක, ඒක කරන්න පුළුවන්. conditions දෙකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ මත තමයි ඒක කරන්න පුළුවන්. මෙතෙන්දී දැන් උදාහරණයක් ගත්තොත් මෙන්න මෙහෙම එකක් හිතන්නකෝ, අපි යම් කෙනෙක්ට ඕන වෙනවා තව එක්කෙනෙක්ට යාගේ වාහනේ විකුණන්න ලක්ෂ 10කට. නමුත් එකපාරට මේ ආර්පණය නැත්තම් ඔෆර් එක ගෙනාවට පස්සේ වාහනවල ටැක්සස් වැඩි වෙලා වාහනවල ගණන් වැඩි වෙනවා. දැන් මෙයාට ඕන මේ ගෙනාපු ඔෆර් එක කැන්සල් කරලා දාන්න. එයාට කරන්න පුළුවන්ද? එයාට කැන්සල් කරන්න පුළුවන්. එතෙන්දී there are certain conditions to be fulfilled. Let's see what are those. Number one, it can be revoked at any time before its acceptance is complete as against the offerer. You can revoke it before acceptance is made by the offeree. යෝජනාව ඉල්ලාස් කරගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක පිළි අරගෙන නැත්නම් අනිත් පාර්ශවයේ ඊට කලින් ඒක කරන්න පුළුවන්. Its revocation takes effect only when the revocation is communicated to the offeree. The other thing, if you are going to withdraw the offer, you must communicate that to the offeree that we are going to, I have already withdraw the offer. That must be communicated to the offeree. If the offeree came to know about it through a reliable source, reliable third party, that is sufficient communication. No need to communicate it by the offerer himself. If the offeree comes to know about it through a reliable third party, that is sufficient communication. There is a case in the next slide. You can go through it. Dickinson versus Dodds. D offered to sell house to P for £880, and the offer was to be left open until 9 a.m. Friday. On Thursday, D sold the house to A, and B told P of this sale. P nevertheless wrote a letter of acceptance which he handed to D before Friday 9 a.m. It was held that there was no contract, the offer having been withdrawn before acceptance and communication by a third party being valid. So according to this one, D wanted to sell his house to P for £880. And offer was to be kept open until 9 a.m. on Friday. Let's say today is Tuesday, right? Coming Friday, it's open until 9 a.m. Thursday, what D did was, he sold that same house to A. But there was a friend of both, D and P's friend, B. B told P about this sale. ඔයා ගන්න හිටපු ගේ අන්න වික්කයට D කියලා කිව්වා. එයා මේක ගණන් ගත්තේ නෑ. එයා කොහොමද ලියුමක් ලිව්වා. ඒක ෆ්‍රයිඩේ 9ට කලින් බාර දුන්නා acceptance එක. ඒ වෙනකොට ගේ විකුණලා ඉවරයි. ඊට පස්සේ P ගිහිල්ලා නඩු දානවා Dට විරුද්ධව ගිවිසුම් කඩ කරා කියලා, breach of contract කියලා. නමුත් P was unable to become successful. Why? P was unable to become successful. The reason was D withdraw the offer before acceptance is made. It was happened on Thursday. Acceptance was made by P on Friday. And P came to know about that sale through a reliable third party called B, right? B. That is enough communication, and there is no contract between D and P. That was the final decision made by the courts. Right. Now let's move on to the next one. Refusal of the offer and counter offer. When you are getting an offer, you have two options, either to accept it or reject it. If you accept it, right, you can make a valid contract. If you reject it, there is no contract. Offer will be terminated. But sometimes people, without rejecting or accepting, they also make some, new conditions to the contract. Okay, I will buy your house not for 1 million, but for 90,000, I will buy it surely. Yeah, it's a kind of offer you are making. We call it counter offer. අපි එකට කියනවා රුපියල් ලක්ෂයකට ගිය ගන්න කියනවා නෑ මම ලක්ෂයකට නෙමෙයි 90000කට ගන්නම් අනිවාර්යෙන්. ඒක අපි එකට කියනවා ළමයි counter offer එකක්. එහෙම නැත්නම් ප්‍රති අර්පණයක් කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ it's like a new offer. Right? It's like a new offer. If you are going to accept an offer, you have to accept the original offer without making changes. Right? If you are going to accept it by changing the conditions in the offer, we call it counter offer. And as a result of making counter offer, original offer will be cancelled. Right? Okay, we will go through this case, Hyde versus Wrench, very popular case related to counter offer. Let's read the case. A offered to sell his house to B for 90,000 pounds. B offered 80,000 pounds, for which price A refused to sell. Subsequently, B offered to purchase the house for 90,000. A refused it and B sued him. It was held that by making a counter offer, the plaintiff had rejected the original offer, and the rejection of an offer cancels his binding effect. Therefore, A's decision was justified. මෙතෙන්දි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ ඒ තමන්ගේ නිවස බීට පවුන් 90,000කට විකුණන්න ඔෆර් එකක් ගෙනාවා. B කිව්වා රයිට් ඔයාගේ ගේ ගන්න පවුන් 90,000කට නෙමෙයි මම කැමති මේක 80,000කට ගන්න කියලා. නමුත් A කිව්වා I am not going to sell it for 80,000 කියලා. ඒ ගන්න B කියනවා රයිට් ඕකේ මම 90,000 වලට මේක ගන්නම් කියලා. මේ පාරත් A කියනවා නෑ නෑ මං ඔයාට විකුණන්නේ නෑ කියලා. ඒ ගමන B ගිහලා නඩුවක් දානවට විරුද්ධව ගිවිසුම් කඩ කරා කියලා. නමුත් එතෙන්දී අධිකරණය කියනවා පළවෙනි ඔෆර් එක ගේන්නේ A ඔෆර් කරනවා Bට 90,000කට පවුන් 90,000කට ගේ විකුණන්න. B කියනවා නෑ I'm not going to buy it for 90,000 but I'm ready to buy it for 80,000. We call it a counter offer. According to the principles of law of contract, when you make counter offer, original offer will be cancelled. Now there is no offer made by A towards B to sell the house for 90. It's cancelled already. Then again, B wanted to buy the house for 90,000. It's like new offer, right? So whenever you received offer, you have two options, either to accept it then or reject it. What A did was, he refused. He said, no, I'm not going to sell. So there is then no offer to accept and there is no contract between the parties, right? And the decision of A was justified by the courts. And let's see now the last method of terminating an offer as a result of death or insanity. ඒක මුතුභාවයට පත්වීම නැත්නම් යම් කෙනෙක් මරණයට පත්වීම ඔෆර් එකක් ගෙනාවට පස්සේ එක්කගේ ඔෆර් එක ගෙනාවු එක්කෙනා නැත්නම් ඔෆර් එක කාටද ගෙනාවේ ඒ දෙන්නෙන් එක්කෙනෙක් මිය ගියොත් මේක ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න හම්බ වෙන්නේ නැහැ. The offer will be terminated due to the parties the death or insanity. So that is the end of this session. Yeah, that is the end of the first session, comes under contract law, and we will see you once again with a second topic comes under law of contract calls acceptance. Thank you very much.